Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Terrence Lester here. Today I have an amazing privilege of sitting next to Antonia, right?
Yep. You got it.
You want to introduce yourself and just let people know how you're leading these days and what organization you're with.
Awesome. Well, the privilege is all mine to be here. I'm Antonia Fasanelli. I'm the Executive Director at the National Homelessness Law Center, where we fight for the rights of unhoused people and champion laws that will actually end homelessness.
Yeah, I came across the National Homelessness Law Center's work during doctoral research and many years of just serving in the community. Really fascinated by how the organization started, and then also one of the most powerful pieces of legislation actually comes from the National Homelessness Law Center, which we haven't had a piece of legislation since that passing. Could you explain about its founding and talk a little bit about McKinney-Vento?
I would be happy to.
Yeah.
So the National Homelessness Law Center was founded in the late 1980s by Maria Foscarinas, who was a principal architect of our nation's primary legislation, the Stuart B. McKinney and Bruce Vento Act.
Yeah.
And that is legislation that passed right around the time that the Law Center was founded.
It's like 1987, right?
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah.
And then Ms. Foscarinas founded the Law Center in order to defend the rights that exist in the McKinney-Vento Act.
Yeah, which present day, I do a lot of work in Title I schools, specifically with social workers and school counselors and principals who are trying to identify resources to support students who are actually in transition or having housing instability with their families. Yes. And it's been amazing to watch this particular piece of legislation grow over the years to protect students who are in school right now who may be facing housing insecurity.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
One of the most important provisions in the McKinney-Vento Act protects an unhoused student's right to continue in the school that they have been going to, regardless of where they may need to move to or what shelter they may need to move to around a town or a city. It's called the right to school of origin.
Right.
And local municipalities need to ensure that students are able to continue that continuity, the relationships with teachers that they have built in the schools that they have been going to, and those municipalities need to provide transportation for students to get to those
which
schools.
Is important because, on the ground level, what really breaks my heart is when schools have funding stripped and they don't have the support staff to actually implement some of these items that you've just brought up. And the people who suffer the most may be children who never asked to be poor, who never asked to be unhoused, who never asked to have some of these barriers placed before them. And one of the things that has been grieving my heart here lately is the rise of all these laws and ordinances all across the country that in many ways seek to circumvent, one of the most powerful pieces of legislation around homelessness that came out of the 1980s. What are your thoughts about this? It's like a stark contrast.
It is such a backwards move for our country to see a rise in laws that punish unhoused people simply for existing, simply for being in public spaces. And we know that housing is the solution to homelessness.
Yes.
The McKinney-Vento Act recognized the importance of a stable place to live.
Yes.
And that legislation, which continues to this day, has been amended to ensure that we emphasize housing and supportive services for people who experience the injustice of homelessness.
Yeah.
And so the rise...
You talk a little bit about injustice of homelessness. The injustice of homelessness.
Yes.
Let's go a little deeper.
Yes.
Why did you frame it as the injustice of homelessness?
At the National Homelessness Law Center, we see homelessness as imminently solvable and created by politicians who defunded housing, supportive services, and income supports that enabled our nation to provide housing for most folks for a long period of time.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of mass homelessness that we have today really only started in the 1980s.
Oh yeah, 1980s.
And so there were deliberate decisions from the federal government to defund affordable housing and many of the supports that people needed to afford housing.
Right.
And as a result, people lost their homes, were thrown onto the streets.
Yes. Which now, for many people who don't know, is created the second mass era of homelessness, which is the contemporary mass era of homelessness. And it is chronic homelessness that people visibly see, where people can label someone for standing on a street corner, not even realizing that homelessness is a global issue.
Yes, that's exactly right. And the great, tremendous lie about homelessness is the one put forward by politicians who want you to think that homelessness is caused by individual failures.
Yeah.
That is not true.
Yes.
It is caused by political decisions to defund affordable housing. And it is that lie that has championed the expansion of laws punishing unhoused people.
Right. And it's all fueled by social stigma, political and social rhetoric, the targeting of this population, this idea or framing of who's deserving and who's undeserving.
Yes.
Right. Deborah Stone in her work, Policy Paradox, talks about how at the center of policy is communicating a story.
Yes.
Who's the hero? Who's the villain? Who's the problem? Who's the solution? And that type of framing upholds these narratives where everyday people who may see someone visibly standing on a street corner believe second, third, fourth-hand information without even being proximate to the person that they are judging or having some type of stereotypes or bias against. And it is deeply damaging. When I talk to some of our community members, I lead a organization in the city of Atlanta, and they talk about how damaging it is when people walk past and they don't know me. I remember my friend Tim says, "I'm a uncle, I'm a brother, I'm a friend, you know, I'm a neighbor.
Yeah.
I deserve to be acknowledged."
Yes.
Right? And public policy, when it is used in an abusive manner, seeks to dehumanize and strip people of their humanity and their dignity. But we all know, right, that dignity is inherent, worth is inherent, and there is nothing that is written on paper that can define a person's worthiness.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And it scares me that our country seems to be moving in a direction of that some people are not worthy of care and love. But at times in our history, when we have ensured that nearly every person in this country has access to housing and services, we have been a stronger nation for it.
Yes.
And I have hope that one day we will return to that. I hope sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Because we know there has been decades of research that housing and services is the solution to homelessness.
Yes.
And this is not something that you can arrest your way out of.
No.
This is not something that even needs the attention of
punish your
law
way out of,
enforcement.
yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
You know, many of us watched on social media when the executive order was signed right here in this, you know, the city of DC. And we saw all of these encampments being tore down, and the unhoused community being targeted with language like law and order and criminal and drug use and all of these things, these descriptives to paint this beautiful and beloved community as people to be thrown away. I remember picking up my cell phone and just shedding tears because I think many people would think that homelessness itself is monolithic, and it's not.
No.
Every single person that arrives in this plight has their own stories, their own unique stories. And that is something to be honored, right?
Yes.
I normally tell people that homelessness is one of the only justice issues where you can be labeled for something that you don't have and then punished for trying to survive it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is fantastic framing that you have. I think one of the great tragedies of that executive order, which was signed in July of 2025, is that it did not provide for any solutions to homelessness.
Right.
It did not provide for housing. It did not provide for services. What it provided for was encouraging municipalities to arrest unhoused people who had literally committed no crime except that they were living outdoors,
right.
And they're encouraging municipalities to pass laws saying that it's illegal to sleep outdoors.
Right.
That's what it provided for. It encouraged municipalities to involuntarily hospitalize unhoused people.
Wow.
It encouraged municipalities to
even if they do not have a pathology.
Correct.
Because most people will lead with pathologizing this community.
That's exactly right. And to your point, homelessness is not monolithic.
Yes.
People experience homelessness for a variety of reasons.
Yes.
The only commonality is the lack of housing.
That's right.
That's the only commonality. And so it's incredibly important to recognize that this executive order has done a great deal of harm in Washington, D.C. already,
right.
And to other communities around the country.
Right. Antonia, last question. You know, I post a lot of content online, and right now we're in Washington, D.C., and we're about to have a direct action to name the worthiness of our neighbors without an address. But sometimes we have critics who say that people do need to go to jail. People do need to be forced into treatment facilities. People do need to be punished because they're lazy or they have some type of moral character flaw. I did it, why can't they do it, right? That sort of framing can sometimes spread these false narratives and these myths that it is very easy for someone to overcome homelessness. What do you say to those people in closing that believe the myths about people who are unhoused?
I think they are mistaken. What we know is that the kind of mass homelessness that exists to this day was caused by policy decisions from the federal government starting in the late 1980s. It caused literally tens of thousands of people to experience homelessness, and that has now risen to hundreds of thousands of people. Studies conducted over the last decade or more have shown that providing housing and services to unhoused people will ultimately end homelessness. Today, we are coming together to protest the Cicero Institute, which is an organization that is championing laws to punish unhoused people, claiming that housing, the thing that every unhoused person needs, is actually making homelessness worse. It's a false dichotomy. It is not based on any scientific research, and yet they are influencing the federal government and have even claimed to be influencing the White House from the executive order we discussed before to actually efforts from the federal government to defund affordable housing provided to unhoused people to this day. We are protesting saying, please, whatever you do, do not defund affordable housing.
Do not defund.
That is the thing that is ensuring that homelessness does not get worse in our country. We need more affordable housing, not less.
Yes. And in closing, I would just echo everything that you said. And I want to say thank you for sitting down with me and having the discussion. Because it's something that the general public needs to join in on in resisting some of these frames that seeks to discard a community that is so beloved.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for covering this. Such a joy to speak with you.
Thank you.